Our last talk, which isn't a keynote or a lightning talk or anything of the sort, our last talk for the conference in this venue will be presented by David Campey, Turtle translated, instructing Python Turtle using multiple languages. To introduce David, David has on his bio, he is enjoyoneering, which is a word I am borrowing, creating the world we want to live in, helping technology and humanity work together in Africa for Africa. David is the owner and representative of AfroLabs, who is one of our sponsors, so he's one of the reasons we're able to be here at all, so thank you for that as well, David. David also, he works on the software production value stream and engineering kindness, which is also a phrase I'm borrowing, at AfroLabs, and volunteers to help grow coding at coderlevelup.org. If you are looking for a firm to give you the kind of help that AfroLabs can do, and I will mention them again in the closing, please look them up. It's also worth noting, because I learned when I chatted to David the other day, that you'll notice on David's name badge there's a colon on it. That's not our mistake. That's how he wrote it down. That's how he wants it written. He spells his name with a colon D, because colon D is the emoji for joy, which is nice to know. That's enough waffle from me. David, fantastic. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Wonderful intro, so I can jump straight in. Turtle Translated. It's a project with a goal to make it more delightful. To learn Python by being able to instruct the turtle in your home language, the language that you first learned. So I've been introduced as who I am, but in the context of PyConZA, in 2018, I spoke on helping kids learn to code, finding the fun. We did a bit of electronic stuff. I'm not going to say anything about that today because PyConZA does a wonderful job recording talks, and that's online. 2019, Whitney and I came and gave a slightly updated talk on that, the progress we'd been making and the registration with the Raspberry Pi Foundation. I'm not going to say anything more about that because it's recorded. And the one thing I am going to add is there we proposed African translations. And in 2021, I gave a similar talk on what we'd learned about pedagogy, but focused on the loop of joy, this idea that we learn best, and it's delightful if we can have the idea, see it in action, go through the struggle, see it working, and then come up with more ideas. I'm not going to say anything more about that because thanks to Adam's magical wizardry on the software stuff, this stuff is recorded, it's live streamed, and then recorded in a high definition, put online. You can watch the talks. They're fantastic. Not just my talk, like the actual technology is fantastic. I don't see organizers in the room because they're busy organizing, but thanks to the organizers of PyCon, that we can all actually be here having these conversations and creating this world we want to live in. The AfroLabs we love creating, and it's great to be able to sponsor this. Since 2012, I think we've missed one or two due to admin, but seeing the PyCon group grow and for the first time in Durban is fantastic. So today I'm here to talk about Turtle Translated. I'm going to tell you a story, then we're going to have a tech demo, and that's what I asked people to have their laptops ready to whip out, because a tech demo on the screen is not as good as one that you can play with in front of you. And then I'm going to try to tempt you down the path. So the story is about an idea. This idea turned into a turtle. That turtle turned into a cat. That cat learned to speak over 70 languages and then inspired the turtle to try to learn other languages too. In the tech demo, I'm going to get you to experience this idea with the cat and the turtle in other languages. And then when I tempt you down the path, I'm going to try to help you help kids learning, and then maybe help the turtle to learn other languages. So the story. The story starts with this old chap. He didn't start old, he started young, as we all did, called Piaget, who came with this idea of constructivism. When thinking about these words are even hard to say, the epistemological nature of pedagogy, i.e. how thoughts are made and arrive in our heads through teaching, he realized that they don't get sort of installed, we build them through experiences. So we do things, we build our system of knowledge, and this was a shift in how we learn, or how we think about how we learn. And there was a South African who went to Wits in the struggles with apartheid, which he was opposing, decided to voluntarily exile and ended up in Switzerland and Geneva, where he encountered this other mind, who was Piaget. And Piaget and Papert met together, and Papert said, this is interesting that we learn by constructivism that we build in here, but what if we added to that the process of actually making things? And he created this idea of constructionism. And Piaget said that the one person who really understood his ideas, possibly even better than himself, was Papert. Then Papert headed over to MIT. This is where it turns into a turtle. So the idea is how knowledge arrives. This idea turned into a turtle. Not just any turtle, a robot turtle that actually doesn't look too much like a turtle, but if you have a look here, you'll notice it's drawn something. The robot turtle had a little pen that you could ask it to put down, and you could send it an instruction and move it around. It was not designed to teach programming. It was designed to improve how knowledge acquisition happens in students' minds, how we think about learning and moving through stuff, to strengthen this ability to learn knowledge. And then robot turtles don't move as fast as virtual turtles, so someone made, for Commodore 64 and the Spectrum and the VIX, virtual turtle, which was all under the name of Logo, and you could run Logo. And after I'd learned BASIC at my home environment, which was great, I got to school, and my first formal training, I encountered Turtle. And I remember it very clearly because I could type FD and the turtle would move on the screen, but I was so excited that half the time I typed DF, and I got referred because they thought I might be dyslexic. And I remember trying to tell them that, no, I could. I was just trying to go too fast. I remember very clearly. But then we drew patterns and shapes, and those days, literally, I was 7 years old. I have the pictures so clear in my mind. I have pictures of the older kids playing games that I didn't quite understand how to play. I remember drawing the shapes. And then, as I promised, that turtle turned into a cat. How did it turn into a cat? Now, we had Piaget. Piaget moved on to Papert. Papert's protege was Mitch Resnick. Mitch Resnick was at MIT. The epistemological lab turned into the media lab, which is a lot easier to remember. And Mitch in the media lab took this idea of turtle and said, well, what if we had this creative environment? Scratch refers to like wiki, scratch, remix. How can we make some stuff, put some pictures up, and have this environment with an even lower floor than turtle? The teaching principles are low floor, high ceilings, and wide walls. Really easy to get into. You can do pretty much anything you could have conceive of, and there's really wide walls. We can do anything. Now, people in this room have just been at a conference with a language that's quite similar to that. Getting into Python has a really low floor. What you can do in Python will keep exploding your mind forever, and the walls are as wide as radio astronomy and cloud serverless functions and sending people boxes online. So, it can get anywhere you like. Trying to figure out how tables and alcohol don't mix. So this cat was still speaking English or American. And as I mentioned, Wits and I announced that we wanted to start this translation project. We got nowhere with it. But this is when I'm going to stop talking and ask the laptops to come out, because other people did get somewhere. So if you can grab a computer and go to scratch.mit.edu, we're going to look at the cat, see how the cat has learned multiple languages. Then we're going to look at the turtle and see how a turtle is starting to learn languages. And please look over other people's shoulders. Like, if you don't have a laptop, let's huddle together and chirp, criticize their typing, whatever it's needed. When you go to scratch.mit.edu, you'll see the main banner has this Start Creating button. You don't need to log in. You don't need an account. Let's just hit on that button. Once you do that, on the left, you'll see events. Under the yellow events, grab the event that says when green flag clicked and drag it into the code for ScratchCat. So on the right, you see ScratchCat. On the left, you've got all the possible instructions you could do with the plus at the bottom, because you can import other modules. But let's start with the rainbow that's on the left. So we're going to go to the yellow ones and find when green flag clicked, and then the purple one, and say hello for 2 seconds. And someone make a chirp of joy when you get it working first, and we will... woo! Okay. Prize to that man in the front. Your cat said hello to you. Cool. It did it again. It can keep doing it, right? You know, it's pretty amazing. So what else can we do? So I promised that a cat had learned to speak other languages. So I'll give folks a chance to catch up a moment. Can I hear another whoop whoop of it's working from the room just to get a progress? When it works, make a noise. If it's not working, make a sad face and I'll come and talk to you. Oh, not a hugging face. No. Oh, your internet. The internet. Okay. Maybe look over that guy's shoulder because he seems to be on the internet fine. Aha. Okay. I'm just, yo. When green flag clicked. Okay. So the say is under looks. Click on the purple. There we go. There's say hello for 2 seconds. Okay. I can hear the cat. I was running a secret counter in my head. I think that was about 47 seconds until the first meow. Those get pretty annoying with the kids, but we've just learned the basics of what we can do with Scratch. And from here, I don't have to read any documentation. I can drag blocks in. I can see what I can do. So now, how do we make this cat speak another language? You delete the hello, and you make it say sawubona. Okay, right now you should be pretty disappointed, because that's not really what you came here for. But do that, and you'll see the cat can say sawubona. But we're not talking to the cat in isiZulu. The cat is just saying what we wanted it to say. So can someone give me a sound maybe from the back corner of the room when it said sawubona? Can I hear a sawubona? Yeah. Wonderful. Sawubona, by the way, means I see you. For those in the stream, there was just a nice cat meowing. So what we really came here for is how this cat has actually learnt other languages. So at the top, you'll see this rather mysterious globe. If you click on that globe, scroll down, Zulu is filed under I because it's isiZulu. So you'll find isiZulu halfway down the list. And then you'll see something different. Wow. Or, hey. Scratch is available in more than 70 languages. Not just the interface. You'll see at the bottom, the subtitles on the training video are also available in Zulu here. Code makers, credit to them. They're the ones who picked up the torch and did the first Zulu translation, moved back to Scratch, got funding, translation to all. You can find them of the South African languages in that list. If you want to see what it would look like in Chinese, do it. Don't worry, the globe is always there to go back to English. This is pretty amazing. This is pretty damn cool. Teachers' minds kind of change when they see this because, you know, Dear Papat left the legacy of apartheid and went and made this thing in English. It came back here, and it comes under a similar guise. You have to be English to be smart. You have to, like, computers are clever. You have to speak this other. What? No. You know? Now I can talk in my language. This thing can understand me first. And I want to take everybody who's doing this now, have a look at the blocks on the left in Zulu. Feel that feeling of not really knowing what the hell is going on. That's the feeling of a second language or third language English speaker, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old who's struggling to read, trying to parse English words, and then figure out what they're doing. Now, this is cool, but we're at a Python conference. So I'm assuming everyone can open a Python shell. Open a Python shell. I'm going to show you one thing you might not have seen before. Python has turtle batteries included. So Python's a battery included language. If your system has TK on it, which should be everyone in this room except for that man in the corner running Pop OS, yeah, even has it now, then you should be able to say import turtle. You can call it Tim, or you can call it Kim, or you can call it whatever you like. Kim equals turtle.turtle. What will happen at that point is a little bit wow. A window will open, and on it will be a little triangle. And then you'll ask Tim to go forward by 100 pixels. Can I get a wow from someone if they've seen a turtle on their Python shell? Did I hear wow? I heard it. Yeah. You got a turtle. Did the turtle go forward yet? Not yet. Anyone got a turtle that's gone forward? 120 words per minute typers have got there already. The 60 words per minute typers. Wow! Okay. It's pretty amazing. And then you turn left and then you go forward. What happens after you go forwards there is that, yeah, what's up there? Yeah, the direction has changed, and now you get to that top corner. What happens in your brain? What's the next question? How am I going to go left? Because what do you kind of want to do? There's a natural thing that happens. You want to finish the square, right? This is constructionism right there. You're like, could I do it? And what is my answer to the children? I don't know. And I'll walk away. This is a pedagogical approach that Sugata Mitra likes. It's like self-organized learning. Find your way. And if you put in 80 and it goes a different way, have a laugh. Because, gosh, you can draw it again and Turtle ink is free. So now, if everybody's got a little bit of drawing on their screen, I ask you to try something else. Import fudo. Fudo is isiXhosa for turtle. For tortoise. Yeah, no, not turtle. Doesn't swim in the sea. It goes on the land. It's a fudo. And if you are like me, when I first tried this, of course there's no module called fudo. But the turtle got inspired, and you can drop out of your shell and git clone that URL, github.com, levelup, turtle-translated.git. For the brave, I'll ask you to give you a moment to type that in, because it's worth it.
Should point out, if you're feeling concerned, I did this yesterday. There is still money in my bank account. So
The turtles didn't steal your money. Got to be careful. They're shifty things. Now, like, I got the money. I'm going to put a little bit of like allowing people to type. So should be vanilla github.com code dir LevelUp. Sometimes people leave out the R, turtle translated. And then you'll get a very, 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 very simple, very simple repository. But when you open your Python again, you can import fudo. And you can call it a closer sounding name like Tabo. I'm not Tabo, fudo.fudo, and then Tabo can Phambili 100. But Tabo doesn't Phambili 100. Tabo Phambili is Likulu, because 100 is English. Likulu. But you can still write it the same. That's fine. You don't have to write Likulu. But Phambili, Phambili. We're going to feel something different happening here, because we're wiring a different part of our brain. We're starting to code in another language. You know, it is valuable for kids to start to do this in English, but maybe not as their first activity. And then do a help on fudo. So once you've gone through a little bit of drawing in fudo, do a help. And if you haven't gotten someone near you with a laptop, if you're feeling a little disengaged, go peer over someone's shoulder. They have their laptop out. They're willing for you to look at their screen. And if they're doing email, you can clip them for me. Okay. One of those Mario turtles will come down the aisle, find them, and dunk. Yeah. Okay. While playing with that, you'll get to help fudo. You can also do fudo. What's the difference between fudo and fudo? Yeah. About 1,700 kilometers, right? Fudo, isiXhosa. Fudu is Zulu. Sbo, fudu. Sbo also says Phambili. The languages have a common root. And Phambili ikulu, not likulu. But we see the languages are quite similar around here. And then Sbo can sokudla, 90. 90, however, is going to test me, because I have to say, amashumi aisi shia galunle. And that was a bigger number than I ever had to say as a kid, so I didn't learn to say that one. But it's interesting, while everybody's playing with it, to just say, well, like, how does that complicated word make? Isi is a prefix. Shia, leave behind. Ugalo, one finger, is 9. So that's, and then amashumi is a collection of tens. So a collection of tens where we leave behind one finger is 9 times 10 is 90. So that's how we say 90, which I thought was fascinating. And you can also say help fudu, not fudo. That was a copy-paste error. And you will get that help text in isiZulu, which helps you to read through what's happening. It's just that first page of help text, but that's why I'm here to tempt you down this path. I've already started you walking down, playing a little bit. So the first temptation is to try a project. You've done something. If you go to this site, projects.raspberrypi.org, should be relatively easy to remember. Raspberry Pi Foundation, Raspberry Pi sells those little computers. They take the money from those and they put it into supporting things like building this platform to share projects. My favorite project is Turtly Amazing, because it's totally amazing. And in it, you can use Trinket and do some drawing of lines, kind of the stuff you've just done right now. But in case you need a reminder, it's all there online, available for free in that project. And at the top of the site, you'll see linked all new paths. It's really tiny here, so you're going to have to go to the website yourself. Temptation. And then when you click on that, you'll see these all new paths. And these 3 are a sequence of interesting Scratch projects to try. The next 2 are Python projects to try. The next one is Unity. So if anyone wanted to play with Unity, kids are a great excuse to do the stuff you never get time to do at work. Then there's a little physical computing stuff. And then the Raspberry Pi PyCos, which are quite cool. So those are paths that take all the FUD out of how am I going to help my cousin, my daughter, my son, the children at the local place where I volunteer get into coding. Their activities, we've got 2,350 clubs around the world. These have all been contributed by people like me and you who work in these clubs, who found things that work, tested them with kids, turned them into projects. Pi Foundation has translated them into a lot of languages, but not yet ours. However, at our last partner meeting, which was on Wednesday, it was announced that our languages will actually be arriving on the site soon. So there's also an open door for people to do translation of the strings of all of these projects. Really low-hanging fruit, folks, like Google copy-paste and then get, if you're a native speaker, proofread that Google didn't get it wrong. And AI gets better and better by the day, like we just saw in our previous talk. So you can also help with Turtle Translated. If you've imported that repository and you look at the code in that file, you'll wonder what kind of idiot David is. I'm a kind of idiot that knows that the perfect is the enemy of the good. In 2019, we announced we wanted to do the turtle thing. It was years later, and I was like, damn it, let me figure something out. I took the file, I copy-pasted it, I found every string that said forward, and I replaced it with Phambili, and I saw it worked. I was like, great. And I replaced backwards with umva, and it worked. Great. And then I did some help text, and that is the state of the Xhosa translation. I sent the Xhosa translation to Isetu Stofile, who used to be the head of Western Cape Education Department, Coding and Robotics. And I was like, does this sound like that right kind of poetry? Because that's the hardest part here. In the beginning, like when Whitney and I thought about it, it was iskil party. Bleh, that's not the right word. That's like a transliteration of an Afrikaans word into Xhosa that some people use when they're talking. You know, how much better is it to find fudo? And then once you found fudo, and then you realize that some of these prefixes can be dropped if you're saying fudo.word. Actually, the prefix is already there because fudo dot serves that, so you can shorten that part. And then what would the right two-letter substitute? So you can instead of forward, you can say FD. Instead of umva, you can say UV. And just where is the emphasis on the right syllables, and how can you actually get the words to make sense when you bring it together? So that's some of the poetry that folks who maybe aren't the deepest in coding can help you work with, and you can bring in community partners. So here in Durban, I went up to the Valley Trust in the Valley of 1,000 Hills, spoke to Spore, who connected me to Cindy, and then I was like, okay, let me do this translation quickly before the conference. I WhatsApped them. I was like, does that sound okay? I got a appropriately skin-toned okay with a thumbs up. From that side, I gave my appropriately skin-toned thumbs up. Thank you. This is wonderful. And we got those first noun and 4 verbs in that you see in the Zulu translation. Now, Google did all of the other translations, and we'll pass it across to them for checking. So these open issues. Package for pip install. Right. That issue there, if you go to the site, even has the link to the URL of the place to find the thing. If you've ever wanted to play with packaging for pip install and recreating the folder structure, please help. Removing duplication across languages. At the moment, Zulu is a copy-paste of the same file that Xhosa is a copy-paste of. If you open that issue, you'll see something about inheritance mentioned. Maybe that's the way, the truth, and the light. But maybe there's some other kind of patchery that can be done, or some Python that's evolved in the last 6 months that changes things. Or, maybe someone wants to look at Pi internationalization and how we could use that library. There's a lot of surface area, and that's what got me stuck in the beginning, because we were like, oh, we should do this, and I've done it at work so many times, and blah. So, very quick iteration. We've got 2 languages. Let's add some more. And then The third call to action, so first try a project, show someone. Really, really low bar, go home, try a project, find a young person in your network, or just go to the library and try to blow someone's mind. As you can see, it's all step by step down the side, handheld. Doesn't matter. I'm sure there's some students in the room, some non-coders. You have two superpowers that kids don't have. You can read a paragraph without giving up, and you can see it not working and not default across to something else. Because you've already completed your loop of joy a few times. You're willing to persevere and get through to the other side. If you can help a kid do that, you don't know anything about coding. Moms are the best at this. Dads, aunties, uncles. The granny in the back's like, oh, okay, I can read, and she'll come up and she'll help, and ta-da! It works. And it's amazing because it does change lives. It really does. So volunteering at a coder dojo near you is also an option. We're here in Durban. Tom may or may not have made it today. He was at an event this morning. But if you go past Umhlanga, you go to Durban, past downtown Durban, where then you get to the Bluff. The Bluff, there's a pretty dodgy area in the Bluff, and in the middle of that is a place called Blue Roof. And Blue Roof is like a spaceship in the middle of a sea of uncertainty. They've got amazing facilities, tons of computers. The only thing they're missing is volunteers. They work with Keep a Child Alive and everything like that. So all the folks who are here, who actually live in Durban, Tom at Blue Roof, and they're going to be the Coder Dojo. That's going to be the anchor for getting stuff going. If you live further north in KZN, Bothas Hill, Valley Trust works across 1,500 homes for 0 to 6-year-olds, helping the moms understand nutrition and all of that stuff to get the kids up to that level. And they've got a computer room in the Valley of 1,000 Hills. Guess what? It's not used a hang of a lot. And there are not many volunteers going in there helping kids get through these barriers. So we're getting a Coder Dojo going there. There's some of the joy of coming to PyCon and Durban, things we can do. And then we're actually rolling out school code clubs too. But my suggestion is to start at your local dojo, meet some friends, community of practice, learn some of the stuff. There will be 150 school code clubs added in the Western Cape. After the prototyping of Blue Roof, they're aiming to get 100 clubs going in 23, I think, in KZN and Durban. There are already 100 clubs in South Africa, so we've got 12 dojos and 88 school-based clubs registered. We are working with a case study from an Indian partner who rolled out like 125 schools every 6 months, which makes my brain explode a little bit. But they've got a case study. Our government has created a coding and robotics curriculum that says we're going to need this in schools. And this is like that chess club after school or the math club after school. Imagine maths was a new thing. No one knew how to do it yet. How's the teacher going to teach it? To get the smart kids or the fun kids and the bored kids and let them play with maths, and the teacher's like, oh, I can kind of get this maths thing. Now I can teach it in the classroom. That needs to happen now. You can be that person to be there for the teacher to unblock them on what's happening. So today I told you a story about an idea that turned into a turtle, that turned into a cat, that learned languages and inspired the turtle to try to learn other languages. We did a demo where hopefully you or someone near you experienced the idea of constructionism. We have constructed a new mental model in our minds by doing something. It would have sucked a lot more if I just told you about it, right? You've experienced that idea with a cat and a turtle, both virtual and remote. Maybe you want to do a robotics project. I'll just leave it there. And you've done it in other languages that maybe you'd never spoken before. If you've come to this conference, you probably hadn't spoken Zulu before. Now you've typed it. You could read it aloud and try to say it. Fudo, those are sayable. The other words, ikohlo, I mean, my Xhosa is only good enough to say uxolo, which means I'm sorry. Ndiqonda, which means I understand. Which means a little bit. Which is great because it uses a lot of interesting sounds. It makes me sound like I know what I'm saying. So that, folks, is Turtle Translated. That's the invitation. That's the inspiration. That's the story of what's got us to where we are. You've all had a try with it. Please join in somehow. Figure out some way. Maybe do a sprint on the weekend. It takes about an hour for me to do the copy paste of the actual stuff once I've figured out the words. So that's not the hard part. So if you'd like to do it in maybe Mr. Jain could figure out a language from his home region. That would be interesting. Afrikaans would be interesting. And please don't worry about slapping in the horrible copy-pasted code. It is a bit of a pain. But the first thing that's going to do is going to familiarize you with the shape of the code base. And then maybe you can think about how to refactor it with me. And we have a call, send the pull requests. It's very open. And it's now time for lunch, I think, and announcements. Oh, wait, questions first. I'll take questions until we...
It's time for questions and fulsome praise. I think, yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is why we leapt at David's offer to give us a talk. David always gives an excellent one. That was brilliant. Thank you, David. That really was both engaging and fantastic. I want to make a small note just in case anybody thinks David got it wrong. When David said that there is a Valley Trust in Bothas Hill, and you're wondering where that is and why he didn't call it Buerta, it's because you're in Natal. It is pronounced Bothas Hill here. If you say to somebody, where is Buerta's Hill, they will say to you, no, I don't know what you mean. Where is that? So you go past Kloof, not Kloof, up to Bothas Hill, not Buerta's Hill. Are there any questions for David on the...
Thanks, David. Just from the internationalization kind of concept, have you sort of thought of taking a form-based approach? I mean, if you have a list of things that need to be translated and have a place that contributors can just come and translate, it should be relatively straightforward to generate something to go into the code base from that. Have you thought of that?
Definitely. There's a lot of very straightforward things to do there that will take a very small amounts of time. That would be great opportunities for people to come in. So that would be in terms of translation management is that area. If you have a look at what's happening on the Scratch team, there's the name of the platform's just fallen out of my head, but there's a nice platform for actually managing those strings and bringing them in. Or you could like pick one that seems exotically interesting to you. Ultimately, right now, it's David's Sublime text that ends up in there and a couple of WhatsApp messages. Yes, formalizing that to grow. If you look in the issues for finishing the Zulu and Xhosa translation, I've got myself in a little catch-22 where I'd like to remove some of the duplication before I put the rest of those strings in. I'd also like to remove some of the duplication before I put in internationalization. But carts and horses don't have to go in our asynchronous world in the same order. So you can do some and refactor them. So. Good question, and yes. And one of the reasons that we didn't do it in 2019 was I thought about that. And I was like, okay, so we need to get some file, like what's the simplest, a Google Sheet? No, just fucking Google it. Like I Googled it, I put the things in, I was visibly wrong, someone corrected me, and it was done. So, but yes, definitely a good point, and for anyone wanting to contribute, those are great areas. Anyone else?
Thank you. Any further? Yep.
No, maybe just a comment. I don't know how you did it, but I want to get into that repo. So it's really cool to see. Obviously, you mentioned coming from also that reference of helping kids with maths and science and everything. So yeah, I'm definitely keen. But well done on what you guys have already done and what you've done, David. It's
Fantastic.
really cool.
I'm glad we've successfully tempted you.
It's like fingers itching.
Mm-hmm.
Just a suggestion, like if you can put this on Hacktoberfest, and you'll get like more contributors, and in like make multiple issues that this is what we're looking for, and like the document is easy for newcomers, then I think it's like people are really contributing right now, October month, so it's like
Cool.
yeah.
Do you know how to do that?
Yeah,
Could you help me do that?
Yeah, I'll do it. Yeah.
Cool. You do not need permission from. It's completely open source. So yeah.
Any other comments?
I
Anyone
think
else?
I saw someone outside. No.
Was there a hand that I can't see in the glare? No?
Anything from online?
Well, a comment from Jeremy, which was of interest from earlier, was pointing out in Scratch, which I don't think you'd done. Well, not while during the demo. If you set the Scratch to Hebrew or Arabic, the whole UI changes direction.
Yeah.
Apparently,
It's
which is
been
quite
very,
funky.
very
It's
lovingly done.
very
yeah.
well done. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of love and attention got into that. So.
Any further questions? Any further comments? I think that was thoroughly inspiring, David. So
Cool.
thank you very much.
Sweet. You know where to find me, and I'm wearing this purple dangle. Thank you.